Good afternoon, January 28, 12:15 p.m. This is going to be a little bit of a slow, drudgy midday here. I'm going to do oil first, and then I'll stop the recorder, come back on, and do the swings. In oil, well, we've obviously had a sell-off here. Intraday, we're at a near support. This was a lower target on the day, just about got to it. They've been buying a little bit early on every down, and then selling every resistance. Here's, we'll just let this render here. Here's one of the things that are important in these sell-offs here. By the way, I don't feel bad about not catching this sell-off this time. We actually took a break. We took a 5-hour break last night in futures, going into the open this morning. And so it happened while we were on break. The team just needed a bit of a break to get ready for the week. We've been basically double shifting for about 6 weeks, and we called a break. Just happened to do it when it was making a big move. But anyway, the point is, you know, this is part of it's down on the 1 minute, and this is the trading box example I wanted to show you. So it bounced off the middle of the trading box, got up to resistance, came back down, bounced again. The point is, when it ends up in this pattern where it's slowly falling off, what you'll find is it'll conclude sometimes to the upside, and you got to watch that really close. To the downside, sure, yeah, same thing, but to the upside, it can be really vicious. So that's what we were watching there, and it concluded to the downside. So there's a little more in the guidance that I gave this morning. This was one of the possible targets, and that comes in for about 8 o'clock tonight. It just about got there, and it bounced. The other thing that I've seen happening is they're buying right here, a couple, 2 or 3 ticks off the bottom of the trading box, almost consistently if you go up through the trading boxes, and then coming back off, bounce, and then through the trading box. So you can watch this pattern over and over again in a sell-off, and the opposite is true in the run-up. I don't like the way it's trading because it's messier than, you know, in a squeeze. You get a real clean environment in these trading boxes. But had we been in front of the screens, we probably would have got this one today, because it's been fairly clean as far as a sell-off is concerned. Anyway, congrats to the short sellers on that sell-off, because it's definitely been a big move today. As far as your targets on the model, so it's going to target up here next when it does bounce, and it could be right now, it's just sloppy, 52.14. So your upper target right now intraday is 52.14. Your lower target intraday is this one here at 51.24 area, and your mid quad, so your pivot, is right in around 51.69. So this is your intraday range. So while it's in that range, that's your range up and down. And if it stays in that range, it'll consolidate or coil around that pivot into this area. Now, Tuesday API, Wednesday EIA, the red vertical and the green vertical lines, you'll want to watch those closely, especially as you get farther in this quad. So if we stay in this quad, as you get closer into midweek, you're going to be in the wide range of the quad. What just happened in the last quad is it came off mid-range through in a down sell. But if it stays in this quad, if this is your new quad for the week, as the week progresses into midweek, you can look for much bigger range both ways. So we should be able to get actually pretty decent trading here in this week. I'm going to look at the other charts here for oil quick. So I'm just going to take these models off for now. So this is a 240 chart. It's magnified right now because I wanted to get a feel for where we were in terms of this support and then the support below. It certainly looked like we were going to get lower into 50.92 on West Texas, and it's trading, I think, about 20 ticks off of FX USOIL WTI right now. Yeah, it's exactly 20 ticks off. So FX USOIL WTI is 20 ticks higher. The point is that, so that support is 50.89, call it. So that would put it at what? 51.09 on FX USOIL WTI, and it's trading 51.57. So about 50 points to the downside of where it is right now. The timing on that comes in around 1 o'clock this afternoon, so it just might not get there in about 40 minutes. So basically in the next 4-hour candle, this 4-hour candle is expiring here in 38 minutes. So that might be it for the day, but it wouldn't surprise me if we get here. So that's what I'm watching there. I will just bring it out a little bit. I did chart an opposite move of, so the blue arrows that are in the guidance report are symmetrical move to the upside. If we get a slingshot to the downside, the opposite would be true. So almost identically the opposites. So you would get down into this range here. And this charting I put in the Discord oil chat room. And then up into here. So there is still the possibility for another pretty significant drop and then back up. And I think on the epic model that would be near or even a little more than the bottom of the quad, which in a dramatic sell-off that would be common for it to drop out of the quad and then slingshot back in. So not the easiest range to trade now if you didn't get the beginning of the sell-off. And again, I don't feel bad about missing that sell-off. Normally when I miss trades and miss moves, I feel like crap. But we took a break and we missed it, and that's just reality. So that's the 4-hour for now. I'll get on to the next one. So this is a test chart, a 4-hour model, and if the quad hold true, then intraday, if it sold off right now because it's uptrending, but support is at 50.90 on West Texas, so that would be 51.10 on FX USOIL WTI. Then that would put you in this range here. Late last week, I was saying that I should be considering closing that DWT short, but I didn't, so there's no reason to close it now. I'm holding. I'm still well on the right side of it, but this is the weekly chart, a little bit messy. All the resistance lines are marked. Support lines, to be quite frank, you don't have a lot of support until you get down into 49.84, but there is the top of this candle body here and the bottom of this candle body here, and what ends up happening is you end up getting into a pivot, a weekly pivot in that scenario of possible support resistance, and it just happens to be trading right there right now. So again, a very difficult area to trade. Not so bad on the down because you had this resistance that failed, but the decision here is difficult. If it fails, I think we're going down into the areas I talked about. Not much farther, but still. So intraday, it's getting up near the 1-minute pivot, top of the trading box. So before I leave you here, I'm just going to bring up the 1-minute. And take a quick look on video here. This will take a minute to load. Definitely not for the faint of heart today, that's for sure. If you're still short bias on the day, your key resistance is coming up here. It's trading 51.62 on FX USOIL, and you'd have a pivot resistance in around 51.68, so it's really close to key resistance on the intraday trading on a 1 minute. The top of the trading box is in the area of 51.65, 66, but there's a trend line that would be just above that for resistance on the 1 minute. Now on the 1 minute, the other thing too is that your MACD is flattened right out, and your squeeze momentum, the last time it went to the red side, it didn't go much, and your stochastic RSI is starting to level out, and prices too, of course. So it's very likely a restructure area. I was looking for a little more down into that epic model target, but the probabilities of, or the risk reward, I guess is a better way to put it, to the long side is actually in play now. I wish this chart would render faster. We're literally moments away from replacing this equipment. We're supposed to have it any second, so I'm waiting for literally watching out my window, waiting for the courier to show up. It got through Miami. We have to bring everything through Miami and then through a special courier to the island. And once it leaves Miami and it's on its way to me here, that's the tricky part. But anyway, these will be rendering faster soon here. So FX USOIL WTI trading 51.61, getting really close to a test to that upside resistance on the 1 minute. You know, one other quick comment here while we wait for this thing to render. It might not even render, you know, we're having considerable challenges here with these laptops. Anyway, solved soon. I'm looking at the 4-hour chart, the test chart, and that was actually a 50% retracement on that model. I didn't realize that. So where it bounced today on that 4-hour test chart, that's a clean fib retracement where it bounced on that West Texas oil 4-hour chart. Wow. this doesn't run right away, I'll just call it a day on the oil review. You guys all have the charts anyway. This particular file got really big, really fast. It's definitely not a file you want to travel with laptops. It's not so bad if that's the only thing you're running, but when you're running 6 laptops all with multiple screens, not the best. But in a lot of places you travel, this would be a difficult chart to render on a laptop. It'd be nice to find solutions for that in the future for people traveling. Lots of our members travel. We have lots of other problems to, lots of other things to do first. Anyway, I'm going to let this render because this is actually a trade that just might set up right now. So I'm going to exercise the patience. Not one of my strong suits. Okay, so here we are, 51.57 FX USOIL WTI. It bounced at the bottom of the trading box, got up to the top, came off to the mid, and now it's at the mid of the mid. So it's coiling, and that's usually a sign of an intraday turn. But because you're in a sell-off, you got to be so careful. By the way, I did take an entry this morning, and I think I took a 12-point haircut on a very small entry, a test entry. I was concerned, and that's the only trade I've had today. But I am curious about this rebuild here, the restructuring. So I'm not too sure what they're going to do here, but bottom line is on West Texas, you've got a support in around a really, really strong support intraday around 50.90. Is trading at 51.37, so about 45 points below. And I'm still convinced you're going to see it. That 4-hour candle expires in 25 minutes. So that'll be during midday here while I'm going over the swing trades. So what I think I'll do is I'll just take this model off so I make room for the swing trade review. I'll stop the recorder, I'll come back on and do the swing trade reviews. And at the expiry of that 4-hour candle at 1 o'clock, if it takes off, I'll trade it to the upside. But we very well could see that final dump and then go during that time period. So this could get interesting while I'm on swing review. So I think you all know where it's at. I'm going to stop the recorder and then we're going to come back on and do swings. And if this oil trade improves while I'm on that, then I'll get right into the oil trade.